And let's bring in the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, now, who would have been listening in on that. I hope you were. David, what do you think about that? Of course, you know, I don't like to talk to you about country people being one homogenous group. Of course they're not. But there are some demographic changes there, aren't you, which I know that you're aware of.
Oh, totally. And I think there's some definitely some validity in what Redbridge are talking about. Just on Bendigo, but they say we just came close. Just put into context the argument around how close we came. We had a 10% swing to the National Party. I don't think there was a swing of that scale to the Labor Party in any particular seat of that sort of magnitude that we're up against. So to come that close, I think we just need to say, put that into context that we put a 10% swing to us and we fell about a 1.5% short. But I do believe, still validating what Redbridge has said, that was a mighty campaign from a local candidate. I think the work from home was the defining factor there that we fell short on. And we have to acknowledge that. I don't think you can run away from it. The numbers are the numbers, but I think that was nearly a miracle in the context of what the whole campaign was about and what we felt as a coalition. So, look, we've said quite clearly that while our roots are in regional Australia, and particularly agriculture and resources, the facts are that many of our electorates now represent more nurses, more teachers, more policemen, because the demographics have changed. And that's why we took a principled position this week, particularly about things like the Regional Australia Future Fund, so that we can have solutions to the challenges that we face in regional Australia, like being able to have childcare accessibility. It's not necessarily about affordability. This $20 billion fund is about making sure we solve these problems above and beyond what the money that goes out by government programs now. It's about making sure that young families and young people in particular know they can go and see a doctor or a physician in allied health in their regional areas, because we're going to invest in them. We're going to invest in their education. So it is true that our demographics are changing. It's about making sure we understand that much of their values align with those in metropolitan areas. But there are local regional solutions that we can be champions of, and it's threading that needle. And I didn't run away from that when I became leader. The first thing I did do was do a national tour to re-engage with women and young people, doing round tables, listening to those issues, and then making sure that this election we had a policy offering that went to the core of their concerns and their aspirations. And I think that's still the challenge for us, and the one that we're continuing to prosecute and build on in the coming 3 years.
Okay, so where have you landed with Susan Lee today? It's been quite chaotic the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of negotiation, well, last week I should say, a lot of negotiating going on. Where have you got to? Have you divvied up, you know, kind of front bench positions, how many you'd get? You know, I know the Nats always want particular portfolios. Are you there on those sorts of things?
Well, let me just take you a step back. The reason we left was on a principle one around the 4 policy areas, and we had no intention of coming back until those were rectified within the Liberal Party. And it took the fact that we left, that the Liberal Party were forced to go and have a party room meeting to give us that assurity around those 4 policy areas.
And you have that assurity
we got that on
the
Friday.
Form of language?
Have
you tinkered at all with anything in those 4 demands?
No, this is around what we took to the election. In terms of nuclear, I think we have to be pragmatic. As we've said from the very start since the election was over, that we should have a technology agnostic approach, but should still look around removing that moratorium, and where we can incentivise to get nuclear as part of the grid, we should. So we've been pragmatic, but we've been very clear about those 4 policies, and we've got a set of words back that I'll present to our party room. But there was no need to have further negotiations, and it wasn't until Susan Lee texted me on Thursday morning to say that she was now prepared to have a party room meeting of her party, the Liberal Party, to negotiate, to work through that we could start negotiations. And I'm fairly comfortable. The rest of it around the positions in Cabinet are all pretty well dictated to by arithmetic. And Susan and I had discussions yesterday afternoon which were very encouraging, and I think we'll get to a position. But we weren't moving from our original position. We didn't flip-flop from what the gallery's running out there.
But has there been a compromise on the form of words? Has there been a compromise on the form of words that we'll see?
No, the policies that we took to the election, and in terms of nuclear, we were very, very upfront about that. It has to be part of the solution. the policy that we took to the last election around nuclear was very detailed. It was about building 7 nuclear power plants. But what we want to make sure is that it's a technology agnostic approach. That's something that we had before we had an agreement last term on nuclear energy, that we always had a technology agnostic approach towards our energy grid.
So, but
and
is
what
the
we added to
coalition
in the last term
platform
was
still going to be that you build those 7 nuclear power plants, or that as part of the coalition agreement, the policy is that you work towards lifting the moratorium on nuclear, therefore allowing the market to decide and the government at the time to decide on a technology agnostic approach?
Exactly the sort of pragmatic discussion that we'll have, but nuclear had to be part of the discussion.
Sure.
And so we've been very upfront.
So was that a
we've been consistent from the
misunderstanding
start.
at the beginning? Were you too quick to walk away? Did you not get to those? Or did Susan Lee not put to you, we can have a moratorium, but we can't commit to building the 7 as part of the coalition agreement?
No,
I'm asking you. I don't know. I'm just asking you.
Well, that's what I'm about to say, because this is where the gallery has tried to conflate and confuse, because they listened to the last person that background on. There are 4 policies that had to be agreed to. Not just 1, not 2, not 3, but the 4. And we got those 4.
4 policies on
principle. That was the principle of the decision that we made. So there's no conflation of this. There's a lot of backgrounding going on. There's no flip-flopping from the National Party. We did not blink. We made it very clear that those 4 policy areas were the principle in which we left. If they were rectified, then that would open up the opportunity to renegotiate. The Liberal Party weren't prepared to do that to start with, but subsequent to us leaving, they undertook it to have a party room meeting a couple of days after. It wasn't our decision for them to have a party room meeting. I can't call a Liberal Party meeting. They can only do that. They made that decision that they would come back, and we made it very clear that we weren't interested unless those 4 areas were addressed. They are now being addressed, that I will present to the party room, that I have comfort in. And so the National Party has been very firm, very principled from the start in terms of this. And this is a timeline that we did not set. It was one that we adhered to in respecting our coalition partners to the position they wanted to get to. So we have been very consistent. Our language has been very consistent of the reasons why we moved ourselves from the coalition.
So did the Liberal Party completely capitulate to you?
Well, we made it very clear from the start that we couldn't get a guarantee on those four policy areas. And until we could, we were out of the coalition. Now, that was up to them to make a determination. They're a sovereign party. They then determined after a couple of days that they were prepared to reconsider that and take it to their party room. The party room of the Liberal Party came back to us with a determination that they would support those 4 policy areas that were important to the National Party. And I accept that as a sign of good faith, that now these other areas that Susan and I will work through. So we were consistent from the start. We did not blink. We did not change our position, despite the commentary that goes through the gallery.
Sure.
Those are the facts. Those are what has got us to a position now where we are prepared to sit down and, I think, get it to a position of a coalition. I think that's a good thing.
I spoke to Barnaby yesterday on the show, and he, put a lot of things to him about whether he wanted a front bench position, whether he was backgrounding, whether he wanted your job. I mean, you would have seen all the answers to the questions that I put to him yesterday. He was particularly exercised about net zero, says much of the party room wouldn't say how much of the party room. And what about all those internal problems or let's just say tensions that you have, David?
Well, let me be clear. This was not a unilateral decision. As I made very clear last Tuesday, this was a decision of the vast majority of the party room. Now, if there are individuals that didn't support that position, that's for them to reconcile. The fact is the vast majority supported the position we took. They gave me a direction to undertake. And you know what? Because we didn't blink, we've got our four policy areas assured, which was important as a principle and as a legacy to our party room. And I'm proud of the courage of our party room who were prepared, some of which probably were going to lose their Senate spots, giving up jobs and titles and pay, because this was important to us. So
just quickly on the net zero.
I'm dictated to by the majority.
Yeah, just quickly on the net zero. Sorry to interrupt you. We're running out of time. How will you, this is going to come up in party room again. Will you allow full debate, or whether you stick with net zero as a party platform, outside of the coalition agreement, and would you put it to a vote within the party room? Would you let it be decided that way? Because it doesn't seem like it's been put to bed.
Well, this is the ability in any democratic process and that the National Party runs, is that you can prosecute an individual case, but the policy that the last was determined, and we actually reviewed it. There was about 2 or 3 times in which people wanted to re-prosecute the net zero case, and in those cases, the party room determined in majority that we should stick with it. Now, I have no doubt that during the period again of this course of government, the term of government, that we'll also have someone want to bring those forward. My job as a leader is not to make a unilateral decision. Okay. But if there is a view that want to be tested, then to facilitate that in a process that allows the airing of that, because that makes us a stronger party. That you allow those diversity of ideas and values come forward, and for the party room to determine. That's how we got to this decision to leave the coalition, not because of me, but because the vast majority of our party room were not prepared to blink. Now, on any net zero or any other issues in the future, there will obviously be other policies that people want to bring forward or challenge into the future. And my job's to facilitate that, and I won't resolve from that. That's how you get good policy. That's how you get a party room that gets a focus on the future and on the people that we're asking getting them to vote for us.
Oh, geez, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I wish you'd invite me to one of these party rooms one time, David, but I won't hold my breath on that one. We'll see you soon.
I can get you through vetting if you want to join. You'll be right.
I don't know about my city credentials. I don't think it'll work. All right, David, thanks so much. I'll see you soon.